For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Michigan seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 2271, Scarlett Sunshine on Sudden Unexpected Death Act, as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 424, H.R. 2271, a bill to amend the Public Health Service Act to improve the health of children and help better understand and enhance awareness about unexpected sudden death in early life.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. Dingell, and the gentleman from Montana, Mr. Gianforte, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Michigan.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on H.R. 2271.
With that, the gentlelady has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Michigan.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of H.R. 2271, the Scarlett Sunshine on Unexpected Death Act. This bipartisan legislation would address the long-standing tragedies of sudden, unexpected infant deaths and sudden, unexplained death in childhood, which collectively cost thousands of lives each year and result in heartbreak that no parent should ever have to experience. Every year, about 3,500 babies die suddenly and unexpectedly in the United States before reaching their first birthday, a category of deaths known as sudden, unexpected infant deaths. Additionally, approximately 400 children between the ages of 1 and 18 also die unexpectedly from sudden, unexplained death in childhood. More research into the causes of SUDC and SUID is needed, and this legislation will redouble our efforts to better understand these tragedies and prevent future deaths. Scarlett Sunshine on Unexpected Death Act will establish grants to national and state organizations as well as nonprofits to improve data collection related to these deaths. The legislation will also provide additional resources to increase education about safe sleep practices for children and infants, as well as authorizing funding to ensure death reviews are completed for all infant and child deaths. It will provide support services for grieving families who are impacted by these tragedies. Mr. Speaker, improving data collection and analysis of SUDC and SUID is a critical step in helping us understand and prevent these tragedies and ensure that no parent has to live with the pain that comes with losing a child. I would like to thank Representatives Moore, Cole, and Butler for their leading this legislation and their years of advocacy and efforts on this issue. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to acknowledge Stephanie Zarecki. This legislation is named after her daughter, Scarlett, who tragically passed as a result of SUDC. And we wouldn't be here today without her leadership in pushing for action. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Montana is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of H.R. 2271, Scarlett Sunshine on Sudden Unexpected Death Act, which was introduced by Representatives Moore, Cole, Herrera-Butler, and others. The mother of Scarlett Pauley, the namesake for this bill, told her heartbreaking story to our committee back in January on the 3rd anniversary of her daughter's death. No parent should have to find their child dead, and especially of unknown causes. This legislation would create grant programs at the Centers for Disease Control to state and local agencies and nonprofits to address sudden, unexpected infant and childhood deaths. These grants would support efforts to standardize investigations into these deaths to better understand the medical causes that trigger these tragic deaths. With permission of the family, These grants would also support genetic testing to research the causes of death. Finally, the bill requires the Department of Health and Human Services to help states and local governments to review 100% of all infant and child deaths and enter such reviews into a national reporting system to help health researchers combat these tragedies. I urge my colleagues to support this bipartisan legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Michigan is recognized. Gentlewoman.
I reserve.
She reserves. The gentleman from Montana is
Yeah, I
recognized.
have no further speakers at this time prepared to close.
The gentleman from Montana has the floor.
Yes. I urge adoption of this important legislation, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentlewoman from Michigan is recognized.
If we can in any way prevent parents from going through this horrific experience, we have an obligation to do so. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 2271 as amended? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.